Question number 2, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister and asks, does he stand by all his statements?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, particularly the one I made yesterday when I said after New Zealand First performance yesterday in the House, I can't wait for Winston to come back.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister. In light of his recent trip to India, does he stand by his statement in relation to fraudulent agents that he, quote, won't be raising it, end of quote, but, quote, expects it to be discussed, end of quote? And if so, why didn't he raise the issue when he met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, because that's not the single biggest issue that I would discuss with Prime Minister Modi, and that's because about 30,000 students each year come from India. The absolutely overwhelming bulk of them come into New Zealand legally and with the appropriate paperwork, and the fact that there are a few unscrupulous agents in India is a matter, of course, to be dealt with, and that's why we're putting extra resources in India, while we're putting more pressure on the institutions themselves to know their agents. But, Mr Speaker, I really don't think it would be the #1 issue to talk to the leader of India about, when we can talk about free trade and a variety of other issues.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
So you tell the House again, why didn't he raise this issue, given that 35,230 student visa applications have been processed in connection to education agents that have had an alert or a client warning placed on them by Immigration New Zealand's Mumbai area office since 2010? Why not?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I don't have all those details, and if you want specific details, you really should go and put down to the appropriate minister. But I make the simple point that yes, there are people that apply and that the system correctly picks up and rejects. The vast overwhelming bulk who come here are people that are lawful and entitled to be here and hopefully get a very good education, some of whom stay and some of whom go home. But in the end, the way for us to make sure that we protect the integrity of our system is that people follow the rules. If they don't follow the rules, then we have a way of dealing with that. Mr Speaker, I'm pretty confident overall the system works well.
Point of order.
Point of order, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I seek to leave the House to table a document entitled Total Number of Education Agents that Have an Alert or Client Warning Since 2010. The date is 20th of October. The source is an OIA from Immigration New Zealand.
Leave is sought to table that particular OIA response. Is there any objection to it being tabled? There is none. Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, and tell the House again, why didn't he raise the issue, considering Immigration New Zealand has conducted 70 investigations into fraudulent activity regarding international students since 2010, resulting in 265 students being liable for deportation? Why didn't you raise it considering that?
Order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, there was a discussion with the Indian Prime Minister about the benefits of export education and about the benefits that New Zealand institutions, who do a very good job, can bring to helping educate those young people. There was certainly a feedback that those young people are enjoying their experience in New Zealand. I don't think it would be for me to go to the Prime Minister of India and say to him he should go and sort out a couple of his agents. I mean, it'd be nice if he didn't have anything else to do all day. But given he's got 1.27 billion people to look after, he's probably just a little bit busier than Mr Mark is.
Point of order.
Order. Order.
Point of order.
Order. Order. Point of order, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I seek the leave of the House to table a document entitled Total Number of Investigations by Immigration New Zealand into International Students Since 2010. The date is 20th of October. The source is an OIA from Immigration New Zealand.
Leave is sought to table that particular OIA response. Is there any objection? There is none. It can be tabled.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, if more than 163 student applications have illegally entered New Zealand via fraud, and that's only in the 2015-16 financial year, then why did he not think it was an important enough issue to raise in those discussions with the Prime Minister of India?
The Right Honourable Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
Because in the discussions I had with the Indian Prime Minister, there were some big objectives we were trying to achieve, which is advancing a free trade agreement with the country that's going to be the most populated by 2026. Yes, there are 1 or 2 agents in India that aren't following the rules, and that's why the government has beefed up its representation there. But the the member last week was on TV bleating about the fact that I shouldn't be going to India, and today's in the House bleating on about the fact that I didn't ask the questions he liked.
Totally fine. Point of order.
Order. Point of order, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek the leave of the House to table a document entitled Total Number of Student Visa Applications that have entered New Zealand via Fraud 2015-16 financial year. The date is the 20th of October. The source is an OIA from Immigration New Zealand.
Leave is sought to table that particular OIA response. Any objection? There is none. It can be tabled.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Prime Minister. If the New Delhi area office declines 60% of partner student applications after an investigation into, quote, convenience-based marriages, end quote, by student visa applicants, why did he not think that that was an important enough issue to raise with the Indian Prime Minister?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the fact that there is applications that are being declined, and I simply make the point they're being declined by all countries, from what we can see, that are offering export education opportunities, it actually shows you that for the most part the system's working.
Point of order, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek the leave of the House to table a document entitled Analysis Report on the Convenience-Based Partnerships at New Delhi Area Office. The date is 11th of August 2016. The source is an Official Information Act request from Immigration New Zealand.
Leave is sought to table that particular OIA response. Any objection? There is none. It can be tabled.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Prime Minister. If the Mumbai area office is circulating a weekly fraud update uncovering weekly cases of fraudulent activity through dispersal letters, bank documents, recycled bank documents, imposters pretending to be someone else, among others, why did he not consider that this was an important enough issue to discuss with the Prime Minister of India?
The Right Honourable Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
Well, some people could make the case, the member's trying to pretend he's the leader of New Zealand First. But, Mr. Speaker, anyway, I digress for a moment. The main issue here, of course, is that, as I said earlier, there's no one's arguing that there are some agents in India who are acting inappropriately. The concern would be that if our office wasn't picking them up, the vast overwhelming bulk are. We've increased the number of people in India to help deal with that, and we're dealing with the individual institutions. The vast overwhelming bulk of the 30,000 Indian students who come to New Zealand have arrived here with the appropriate paperwork and professionally. The number that are looking at deportation is about as small as the New Zealand First caucus, from what I can see.
Point of order.
Point of order, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek the leave of the House to table a document entitled Weekly Fraud Updates at Mumbai Area Office from the 28th of March to 8th of July 2016. The date of this document is the 20th of October 2016. The source is from an OIA to the Immigration New Zealand.
Leave is sought to table that particular document. Any objection? There is objection. Point of order. The Honourable Jerry Brown.
Mr. Speaker, it might be a better course of action for the member to table the entire OIA, which of course is a document that proves to him that the New Zealand government is on top of this particular problem, and it would save the House a lot of time.
Order. No, I don't. Listen, I don't need assistance from either. That is not a point of order. It would certainly be more helpful if the member's going to table documents after every supplementary, which he is doing, in my mind, more to strengthen the political point he's made in his question, which is not the purpose. I've started putting the leave. If there's many more, it would be better, I think, if we hold it to the end and we put them all in one go, if I decide that they're relevant. But I do point out the basic function of tabling a document is to provide further information to members. Everything that's been tabled so far by leave of the House has actually already been announced in the supplementary question that the member's given to the Prime Minister. So it's not adding any further information to members. I'm on my feet, Mr. Mark. It's not providing any further information. It may be reinforcing the information the member's making any supplementary question, but that's not the point of tabling a document.
Speaking to your point of order.
There's no need to speak to the point. I've made a decision.
Well,
does the member have a further supplement?
I seek leave to make a clarifying statement, because what you've just impugned is my reputation.
Order. Leave is sought for the member to make a clarifying statement. Is there any objection? Does the member object to? There is objection.
Surprising, eh? Supplementary.
Supplementary question. Order. It wasn't a personal statement the member was seeking to make. Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Prime Minister, is it not a fact that despite the Prime Minister's assurances, fraud is rife in the Indian student market that is affecting the reputation of our export education market, and yet he is too weak to raise the issue at the Indian Prime Minister's attention and or even attempt to address the problem which is contained in these documents here?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, well, far from it. 125,000 students came to New Zealand last year. About 30,000 came from India. The number of students have been identified in New Zealand that could be deported because there could be irregularity with their documentation is a very tiny fraction of that. It's not even in the hundreds, let alone the sort of number the members seems to be claiming. The system's clearly working because we're picking up the issues, and actually overall this is an industry worth well over $3.5 billion to New Zealand that works well. We know the member represents a party that doesn't want to engage with the rest of the world, but he should keep his head in the sand.
Point of order, Dennis O'Rourke.
Mr. Speaker, relating to Standing Order 386, content of replies, the reply to any question must be concise and confined to the subject matter and not include discreditable references to any member of the House. This is the third time the Prime Minister has made discreditable mentions of the New Zealand First Caucus, which has got nothing to do with any of his questions.
Order. Can I remind... No, I don't need assistance. Can I ask the member, when he returns to his office, to have a look at Standing Order 380? It also mentions that the supplementary questions are to be concise, without opinion or epithet. Order. And when the last question was asked, it referred to effectively saying the Prime Minister was too weak. If a member asks a question like that, he will get a robust response. Question number...
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Ron Mark.
Noting those answers, Prime Minister, can you not understand how most New Zealanders will see that your failure to raise these issues and the serious matters contained in your own department's documents leave his government being seen to be treating Indian students as cash cows, letting them being exploited, our global reputation on human rights being brought into disrepute? Because that's the situation we're in, Prime Minister.
Order.
All because you failed to raise it with the Prime Minister.
Order. The general debate takes place after question time. I remind the member, supplementary questions must be concise. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Point of order.
Point of order, Ron Mark.
I have to say, Mr. Speaker, that I find that difficult to understand when I look at the answers and the length of the answers that you've consistently allowed your National Party colleagues to...
The answer clearly relates to the question. If the question's long and full of opinion, like that question, it inevitably leads to a longer answer, and then we get a complaint from Mr. O'Rourke about the length of the answer. If the standing orders at order... If the member could practice his supplementary questions so that they are more in line with standing orders. Order, Mr. Mark. If the member wants to stay to enjoy the balance of question time, then do not interject when I'm on my feet. Question...
Order.
No,
Mr. Speaker,
order. No, just before I call the member, I want to be absolutely clear. The member's raised a point of order. I have given a ruling both to Mr O'Rourke and to Mr Mark and to the whole House. If the member intends to relitigate the answers that I've given, then I deal with that very, very severely, and it may be that I ask the member to leave. I just want to make that clear. If the member's going to raise a fresh point of order, he is of course entitled to do so.
Point of order.
Point of order, Dennis O'Rourke.
This has nothing to do with the previous point of order. The point of order I raised, Mr Speaker, is that you said in your answer that I raised a matter relating to the length of the answers by the Prime Minister. I did no such thing. My point of order was about the content concerning references to the New Zealand First Caucus. It had nothing to do with the length, and I'd ask you to withdraw that comment.
Order, and I appreciate the member may not have heard it, but I said to the member, when a supplementary question puts in political points like the Prime Minister's too weak to raise an issue, then it's likely you'll get a very robust response back, as indeed has happened today. Question number 3. David, sorry? Oh, the Prime Minister's pointed out that he hasn't had an opportunity to answer the question. I'll ask the Prime Minister to answer the question.
No.
Question number 3,